but I know you. I want to play a game. There is only one key to open the device. It's in the stomach of your dead cellmate. You better hurry up. Live or die. Make your choice.
Hello everyone, my name is Ryan Cam, and welcome back to my road to Saw 10, where I'm going to be covering every Saw movie in honor of Saw 10 coming to theaters, well, today, actually. There's a playlist link in the eye in the right-hand corner. At this point, I have covered Saw 1 through Jigsaw. Check those reviews out if you are so inclined. But for right now, let's finish things up by talking about Spiral from the Book of Saw. This was directed by Darren Lynn Bousman, and it starred Chris Rock and Samuel L. Jackson. It tells the story of Detective Zeke Banks, played by Chris Rock. A series of murders is going on, and it is heavily implied that it is the Jigsaw Killer yet again. However, the Jigsaw Killer has been dead for some time, so there is a lot of questions being thrown around, especially considering Detective Banks. Long story short, he is not really well liked in his department. He is obnoxious and disliked, in the words of Ben Franklin from 1776. He turned in a dirty cop, and the department has really never forgiven him for it. But he and his new partner, named Detective Shank, played by, and I'm going to get his name right, Max Minghella? I'm pretty close, I hope, are on the case to see if Jigsaw's really back or if this is just another copycat. Before I dive into my thoughts, however, I started out the series by talking about Saw with Jacob Collins from 3D Movie Cinema, so I'm going to be concluding this series with Jacob Collins from 3D Movie Cinema. Here he is.
What do you got there?
Oh, it's just my wife, Emma. This is my son, Charlie.
Enjoy it while it lasts.
While it lasts.
Nothing happier than the wife of a new detective.
Emma's cool, man. She's different. You don't know my wife.
You can give a woman 600 Tuesdays. It ain't worth 3 Saturday nights.
How much money you got? A lot. How many problems you got? A lot.
Hey, Ryan Cam, I just want to say thank you so much for inviting me onto your thing to do Road to Saw X. I cannot wait to talk about Spiral from the Book of Saw. This is one of my favorite Saw movies, and here it is. So I just want to say thank you so much, and I cannot wait to see your segment of this. And here is my review. Welcome to 3D Movie Cinema, the only show 3 dimensions away from Spiral getting a sequel. I'm your host, 3D Jake, and today we're looking at Spiral from the Book of Saw, released in 2021. Spiral from the Book of Saw is directed by Darren Lynn Bousman, who directed the previous Saw movies in the entry, Saw 2, 3, 4, and then he left the franchise forever, leaving it in a dark period of time. And then he returns to do this movie, and I want to say I'm really happy. This is one of my favorite movies. I remember like yesterday when I heard they were making a new Saw movie, and I was like, oh, because I really like Jigsaw, and I'm like, I cannot wait to see this movie. Is it going to be like a sequel to Jigsaw? And they're like, nope. And I'm like, Chris Rock's in it. I'm like, Chris Rock? That's weird. And I remember people making jokes like, oh, I can't wait for Kevin Hart to do A Nightmare on Elm Street. Why are comedians? Danny McBride is doing Halloween. And now, you know, Chris Rock's doing Saw. What's next? Kevin Hart's going to do A Nightmare on Elm Street? You know, I mean, that's what everybody's making jokes about. And so, and then this movie turns out is fantastic. Like, I remember seeing it, sitting in the theater with my niece to watch this movie. And I remember it was during the pandemic, you know, it was after the pandemic, but still when people were afraid to go to the movies, you had to wear face masks. I remember me and my niece watched all the Saw movies at the Jigsaw. We went in the theater, had our face masks on, sat down to watch this movie, and I just remember being amazed at how well shot this movie is, well acted. There's jokes about, like, the Forrest Gump jokes made me laugh. Chris Rock was hilarious in this movie. I just remember this movie being so great. I mean, the movie is written by Josh Stolberg and Peter Goldfinger, who wrote Piranha 3D, and they also wrote Jigsaw, and they wrote this movie, and they write the upcoming Saw X. This time around it stars Chris Rock, Max Minghella, Marissa Nichols, and of course the legendary Samuel L. Jackson. How do you get a cast like that? I mean, seriously, I just remember watching this movie and being how much I love this movie. This movie is so fantastic. I just remember loving this movie, and I'm just like, and they even had a music video tie-in. It was so good that I actually watched all behind-the-scenes features. I even watched Darren the Bosman take over, like, you know, like what was it, Instagram Live on YouTube, and I watched it, and I'm like, I just want to see what he talks about. It was just him sitting there talking, answering questions, and I'm like, it was just, I enjoyed it. I thought it was fascinating. I mean, because, you know, when you make a good movie, I will sit there and follow you. You know, and he made 3 good Saw movies. And so I just think, you know, that, you know, I really think that this is, you know, his love letter to Saw. Like, hey, look, I know I've been gone, baby, but guess what? Daddy's back. You know, that's how much I enjoyed this movie. I mean, like, I know some people didn't like this movie because they just said it didn't feel like a Saw movie. And I'm like, it's fine because it's called Spiral from the Book of Saw. It's more of a spin-off, man. I don't see it as a Saw 9, okay? If you're expecting this to be Saw 9, you're going to be extremely disappointed because this is not that movie. This movie is essentially a spin-off movie, and it has nothing really to do with John Kramer or Jigsaw. This movie is essentially about his legacy being continued, and I think that's what's so great about it. I do like this movie a lot. The jokes, I think, are hilarious. Like, the Forrest Gump joke was fantastic. I just remember laughing at that. I just remember also laughing at, like, you know, like the buddy cop aspect of the movie where him and, you know, Max Minghell's character are just in the car and they're talking about your wife's cheating. He said, he's probably cheating right now. And he's like, she's just like, you know, he's like, nah, I got a newborn baby and everything. And just like, I love that aspect of it. You know, it just reminded me kind of like Lethal Weapon-ish, you know, or Rush Hour. And it was really funny. Chris Rock is so good in the movie. Like, he's just always on point. You know, and I remember Chris Rock saying in interviews, I really liked the first Saw movie, but I always thought it'd be funny if they had a joke in the movie. Like, every now and then have a little joke. And I always thought that was really clever about this movie, is that, like, he's like literally about to, like, you know, he's doing a heist undercover, and he's just talking about Forrest Gump, about how the ending to Forrest Gump and how Jenny's the real villain. And I just thought that was so funny. I'm like, thank you, finally someone gets it, you know? And it was just so great. I mean, Chris Rock is so fantastic in this movie. And then on top of that, you know, he has a great dynamic between him and his father. I mean, when he's serious, he needs to be serious. When he's like, you know, when he's, you know, goofy and stuff, and it's at the right moment. He's never ever. There is one moment I thought was kind of stupid when he gets shot. And it looks like he has diarrhea. It doesn't look like he got shot. It just looked like he had diarrhea. He's laying on the ground with diarrhea. It doesn't really look like he got shot. But other than that, that was my only issue with him in this performance. Everything else I think is on point. I do like the aspect of it, instead of it's going after like people like insurance companies or pedos or you know, like, you know, or, you know, crooked politicians. And this time it's going after cops. It's like, it's just someone that's going around killing evil, crooked cops. I like that aspect of it because it feels like everybody at this department is kind of crooked in their own way, except for Chris Rock. And, like, so basically him and his partner are the only ones that aren't crooked, and everybody else is just, like, has some kind of dirt, and this cop killer's taking off one by one. And it just feels like you feel the intensity, like, oh, you're, like, wondering, what did they do? What did this person do to deserve it? And then the traps, too, like, one guy has ripped his fingers off, and one guy, you know, literally, you know, gets his, like, tongue ripped off, and, you know, it's just intense, you know, and then one girl gets her face melted, you know, like, you know, with cement, just like, oh, all of a sudden just melts her face off. I mean, it's just intense. And just on top of that, you know, it's just a credible, like, movie, you know, because, you know, and then on top of that, you know, there's just so many layers of, like, who could this be? Who could this be? Because you know it's not John Kramer. And you're like, I hope it's not someone from the past sequel. And it's not, thank God. But also, the killer is so easy to predict because, you know, there's only so many cast members, and, you know, and they fakely kill one off, and so it's kind of predictable who it is. Like, I do like that Samuel L. Jackson in this movie playing the father of Chris Rock. He's really good in this movie. He's not in the movie a bunch, but when he's in the movie, he's really good. And especially at the end, he's fantastic in. There is one scene I really liked with Sam Jackson where him having to resign from being a police captain because his son got shot, and they basically would not, you know, ever, you know, basically he didn't have backup and everything because they hate Chris Rock. And so basically, because he's like, you know, he narked on him, and you don't narc on another cop. That's like the code. And so basically, Sam Jackson's like, who was closest? And they beats the one guy up. And so I love that whole sequence. I thought that was a fantastic sequence. I also liked how Chris Rock, that, you know, then there's a drug dealer. He goes, sticks like, you know, like the paint that shoots in your face with bank robbers, and then he runs upstairs. I thought that was clever. I thought that was really clever. And then on top of that, I do like, you know, that, you know, the third act of the movie is so fantastic. I thought there's a great sequence of the last, you know, and it, you know, that shoots out this guy and killing him, and I thought that was pretty clever too. I really think, that it's not really a Saw movie. You could watch this and not even watch the other Saw movies. This just feels like its own movie. In fact, I showed my aunt this movie before I ever showed her a Saw movie, and she liked it because you didn't have to follow like all the Saw logic to see this movie. That's what when my niece saw it, she goes, "We didn't even have to watch the other movies because you can watch this movie and just enjoy it as is. You don't have to watch 1 through 10 to enjoy this, or 1 through 9 or 8 to enjoy this." And also the movie has beautiful cinematography. Like, it feels like it's a movie that's expensively shot. Like, it was spent like $20 million to make this movie, but it felt like it was shot in such a way that like it looks fantastic, and it's like, it doesn't feel like it's like shot in Vancouver and like a soundstage. I really liked how atmospheric this movie is, and the acting in the movie is fantastic from everybody, especially Sam Jackson, Chris Rock, and even Max Minchell's character and Marissa Nichols. Like, she really is. They're all like great. There is some issues I had with this movie. Now, I will say, I think the ending is fantastic when it's revealed that, obviously the ending's stupid, I think, is when it's revealed to be the killer. And, oh, it's Max, it's his partner, because obviously, shocker, because he fakely died, and we didn't get to see his death. Even though I heard the director said they had to cut his fake death because of, the MPA said it's too gruesome, skinning someone alive. So they had to cut that scene. That's why they just said, oh, he was killed off screen, because they couldn't show the actual mutilation. Even though they weren't going to show him dying, they were just showing like a mutilated body getting mutilated, and so they couldn't show that because of the MPA, but that's fine. Also, I don't like the opening because I feel like opening felt too different. Like, it felt like something out of the 1940s. Like, the way the cop is wearing the outfit he's wearing, I'm like, that just doesn't look like a cop. That just looks like someone from the 1940s. And I said up until the subway. With the subway, that's when I started feeling more like a Saw movie. I kind of wish they would have started there instead, but that's fine. Or maybe it started with him waking up in there. That would have been much more Saw-ish. But I understand trying to make it a different type of Saw film. And also there's no Billy the Puppet. I think Billy the Puppet's a much stronger character. I kind of wish the killer would use Billy the Puppet, but I understand they're trying to differentiate the two. Instead, they have like the pig now they're using, like, I think it's called Professor Giggles or whatever he's called now. And also the supporting cast is, there's one cop in the, after Marissa Nichols, the captain, she's killed, then this other cop takes over, and then like he says like this dumbest line to Chris Rock, saying, "You're getting too close, you're off this case." I'm like, that is the most cliche cop thing I've ever heard in a movie. I'm like, nah, come on, man. Like, you could have changed that line. Come on. Other than that, I mean, I do like the third act though. When it's revealed, like, he's like, look, I don't want to, kill you. Like, it's not like he's, oh, you're in this, you're in trouble. No, he's like, look, you're a good cop, I'm a good cop. He says, everybody thinks I'm dead. How about this, okay? Look, just let me kill the other cops. You point the bad ones out, and I'll take care of the rest. That's all you have to do. And it's like, you don't even have to get your hands dirty. Just point them out, and I'll take care of the rest. And then he's like, and then Chris Rock tricks him and goes, all right, yeah. And then, like, and then, of course, he's not stupid. He goes, all right, I got to show you one thing. And he shows him his dad's chained up, and he took his phone and everything. And, did he show the whole thing, flashback, how he did everything. And it shows because, obviously, spoilers, his partner was killed by a crooked cop. And the crooked cop, obviously, Chris Rock knocked on him, and then he went to prison and got out. And now he's trying to fix his life with that crooked cop. And obviously, he kills the crooked cop for it. But then his dad was dirty because they were working under a different section where they were going to be like, okay, basically, it's kind of like the Patriot Act where they basically got free reign over the city. And so they're all dirty cops at that precinct except for Chris Rock. And so Chris Rock basically, like, wants him to, he loves his daddy. He's like, I'm not going to let my daddy get killed. And he goes, you have to think of it. And, like, he basically sets it up and he has to go stop. And he puts the gun up and then the Saw thing kicks in. And I really like how the Saw thing works to this advantage. How, like, you see the SWAT team coming in and they're trying to cut down. And I love how, like, he's fighting. He knocks his dad down, shoots his dad down, and then the dad's laying him his own blood. And then all of a sudden, like, he's so weak he can't say nothing. Like, he just barely can mumble words. And then he beats the crap out of his partner. Chris Rock beats the crap out of his partner. And you hear the Saw thing kicking harder and harder as they're cutting down the wires. And then Sam Jackson rises up like the puppet from, like, at the yard. And then I love how the gun comes out, and then you hear the Saw theme as the SWAT team busts it in, and you see him put the gun at the SWAT team, and then it just mimics like the pig, the pig, and it has the puppet pig, and Sam Jackson at the same time, and for like all cops are pig in a way in this movie, and so then all of a sudden they just shoot Sam Jackson to death, as Chris like trying to stop them, and it's so intense. and then you just see Sam Jackson get killed brutally, and I'm like, damn, that's intense. I was not expecting that. And it just, shooting dead, Chris Rock just watching his dad die in front of him, and then on top of that, his partner is escaping. And I mean, that's just so intense. That feels like a Saw ending in a way, just that shot, to me, the best shot is whenever you see the shot of the pig cop and just do rising his gun up like this, and it just mimics Sam Jackson, mimics the same way, which that is a fantastic cut. I've watched that ending so many times. I'm like, that's such a good ending. And I'm like, that's what made this movie so well done for me. That ending is so good. I mean, if you don't even like the movie, that you cannot say ending is not fantastic. That is just such a good ending. I'm like, the way it just ended, I'm like, oh my god, this is so great. I literally just clapped my hands at the end. I'm like, man, I gotta give that movie a standing ovation. That was so good. I do like this movie. It's fantastic. If you haven't seen this movie, I urge you to watch it, even though I probably should watch it and then come watch this review because there's spoilers in it, so I'm sorry. If I had to give this movie a grade, I would give it an A. Thank you, Ryan, for having me on. I can't wait to hear your thoughts, buddy. Thank you. It's on you.
Jacob's channel will be linked in the description. Go give him a subscribe there. Spiral is a bit of a weird movie because it takes place in the Saw universe. Jigsaw is mentioned. However, there's a lot of stuff going on where it feels like it doesn't belong all at the same time. The story of how this movie got made is rather interesting because Chris Rock was and still is a big fan of these movies and went to Lionsgate directly with a pitch saying, I want to make a Saw movie, here it is. And with a lot of script doctoring, this is basically Chris Rock's version of what he wants from a Saw movie. His producing and starring, combined with Darren Lynn Bousman's direction, basically led to Spiral becoming a thing. I remember watching this movie for the first time because it came out on my birthday, May 14th, 2021. Like, not my actual birthday, that would be weird, but my actual birthday in 2021. The local movie theater had just reopened from COVID, so I decided to go, having no real context of what Saw was, but feeling that if I'm watching a spin-off, I can kind of figure it out from there. And at the time, I liked it. I think I gave it 3 stars on Letterboxd. But having rewatched it for this series, I actually like it more now. Is it my favorite of the series? No, I don't think so. But I think there is a lot of good things in this movie. The performances are all pretty solid. You got Chris Rock. He is good. And really, his character is the most compelling because he turned in a dirty cop. He pretty much sold out his brothers in blue, and they kind of hate him for it. So when he's on this case, no one really wants to help him. There's a scene earlier in the movie where he basically straight up says to his captain that there's no one else on this force that I can trust, not even his partner. So he basically is a lone wolf, for lack of a better word. And he plays it up really well. He's not your typical hard-nosed cop, though. He's Chris Rock. He has a lot of funny lines, and most of them land. There's a great scene in a bathroom. I'm sure Jacob mentioned it. The Forrest Gump one was also pretty funny. So Chris Rock more than lends his humor to it, but it's not cloying. It actually works. Max Minghella is good as his partner, Detective Schenk, and Samuel L. Jackson was good in his limited role as well. All the performances in the movie were really good across the board. This being a Saw movie, there be some traps, and the traps in the movie are, they're kind of stomach churning at points. I think the one that gets me the most is when the cop, I believe his name is Boz, wakes up in the pool and he has his fingers attached to this device where he has to bite down on a thing and it's slowly pulling him out of the pool, but in return, it's pulling all of his fingers out of his hand. And you see the fingers being pulled out of the hand. Play the clip.
Ooh, that creeps me out so much my bones want to leave my body.
There's another part of the movie where the trap is basically the captain of this department of the police is basically captured and then set on this table, and she has to survive being poured onto her face wax, like hot wax. And the only way she survives is she severs a vertebrae in her spine, basically paralyzing her. As the knockoff Jigsaw says, you may not be able to walk, but you will be able to survive. Dark stuff. I think what knocks down the quality for me is the kind of wishy-washy nature of, is this a Saw movie or is this not a Saw movie? In certain cases, it feels like you might as well have called this movie I Can't Believe It's Not Saw, because it looks like Saw, it walks like Saw, and it talks like Saw, but it feels like it's not Saw. It also feels like it's trying to be a Saw movie, and in certain cases it doesn't work. Like, for example, there is an imitation Jigsaw killer. There's a Jigsaw copycat. But the videos that they play of, like, hello, detective, I would like to play a game, and just the distorted voice, they couldn't get Tobin Bell for this. It's his only time where he has not appeared in any of these movies, and his presence is dearly missed. And he is dead in these movies, so I'm not saying they should have done a flashback, but I'm just saying it's weird to kind of be like, they tried to have their cake and eat it too. That's my point. But for the 9th movie, technically, in this series, and the second spin-off, this movie has no right being as good as it is. So much so, I'm going to give it a great rating. I was tempted to go good, but the more I thought about it, the better it did get. There is a lot of quality here. And honestly, considering what we know about Saw 10, it looks like the events of Spiral will be largely ignored. I have not seen the movie yet, so it looks like those events will be ignored, which is a bit of a shame. Because, in a bubble, this is a neat little Saw movie. And I hope that these characters are revisited at some point in the future, because it looks like Saw 10 is going to be a prequel. So I think there's a lot of room to grow there with Detective Banks and his father. Well, maybe not his father, but with Detective Shank involved. I think there could be a lot there. That's my point. But what did you all think of Spiral? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to read what you have to say. I want to thank Jacob Collins from 3D Movie Cinema for being a part of this one. I want to thank him for being a part of the other video in this series for Saw 4. And I also want to thank Jacob Martin for being a part of the Saw 1 video. And I want to thank all of you for watching these videos, because to be completely honest, I was not expecting this series to do as well as it did on this channel. Don't pay attention to the numbers all that much, not because I'm afraid of them, but just as a general rule, I do this as a hobby, not as a, what are my numbers and analytics looking like? But these videos have done so well, better than I could have ever expected. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you. And I will be seeing Saw 10 on Saturday nights, and I will have a review up after I do see that. So stay tuned for the channel for that. If you did like this video, though, leave a like, subscribe, click the bell to allow notifications, so when a new video drops, you'll be the first to know about it. My name is Ryan Cam, and I'll see you in the next one.
What's your favorite scary movie?
We have such sights to show you.